guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Microsoft Surface Pro X. So, I'm pumped about this one. This is actually probably going to be kind of a longer video, even though I do tend to make kind of long videos, because I'm going to talk a lot about this. It's an ARM PC, which is huge. It's the first one that we've seen since the Surface 2. Not the Pro 2, the Surface 2. Like, you might remember... You might remember the Surface RT, right? And this is a device that Microsoft does not want anyone comparing to the Surface RT. And, by the way, other than the fact that they both have an ARM processor, there's nothing similar about these devices. Well, form factor, kind of. But, I mean, Surface RT, it ran Windows RT. It was a bad product. The hardware was underpowered, but also Windows RT, you can only install apps from the store. Not good. So, with Windows 10 on ARM, which... this is kind of a third-generation product, even though it's the first Surface. But with Windows 10 on ARM, you can install ARM64 apps and 32-bit Intel apps. And the 32-bit Intel apps run through emulation. Mostly they're pretty good. Browsers aren't, and we'll talk about that. But the first generation was the Snapdragon 835. Those products were not good. It wasn't good. The second generation was Snapdragon 850, which was based on the Snapdragon 845. 845 was in phones, 850 was in PCs. And the third generation is the Snapdragon 8CX, which the C stands for compute, the X stands for extreme, and this is a chipset that is built from the ground up for PCs. And it's meant to compete with an Intel Core i5 U series. So... this uses a Microsoft SQ1. Now, what's a Microsoft SQ1? The answer is, no one really knows. Honestly, the short answer is that it's an overclocked 8CX. It has a higher CPU clock speed, a slightly different GPU, which is an Adreno 685 instead of a 680. Not big differences there, but it's meant to be optimized for Surface. SQ1, the SQ stands for Surface Qualcomm. I have no idea why it's branded as a Microsoft chip. This is very much a Qualcomm chip. It's very much an 8CX, but with it's a modified 8CX is what it is. And it's hard to find out exactly what it is. Microsoft, unlike every chip vendor that exists, doesn't publish a spec sheet. So you can't go and look up exactly what cores there are, what features of what pieces of the chipset there are. And when you hear Microsoft talk about it, it's a little tough to understand because, like for instance, they had a Surface engineering session at Ignite, which this thing has been sitting in my home for a couple days because I've been at Ignite and I've been waiting to come home to this. But they had a session at Ignite where they talked about the SQ1 and they said, well, there's things in the chipset that would normally take up space in the hardware. And I'm looking at them like, you're talking about an SoC. Like it's a system on a chip, and that has been true since the 835. Since the first generation Windows on ARM chipset, the Snapdragon 835, that has been true. So when they talk about a lot of the things that are new in the SQ1, that's also true of the 8CX. So as far as I know, the only difference is the clock speed and the GPU. And I'm sure there are some other somewhat subtle differences, but for the way that I'm treating it, it's a variation of the 8CX. And from what my understanding is, that's what the SQ1 is. Okay. I also, one person I asked about a spec sheet for the SQ1, they did say that there are some features that aren't lit up yet, which I don't know what that means, but whatever. So the other thing, I mentioned browsers. And so a lot of the emulated apps are pretty good. I've been using, throughout Ignite, I was actually using a Snapdragon PC, the Huawei MateBook E, which is a phenomenal product, but that's got an 850. So most apps are pretty good. Browsers, though, they generate code in real time, so it's harder to cache that. So it is what it is. We don't have a lot of browsers for Windows on ARM right now. The only browsers that run natively on Windows on ARM, at native ARM64, is Legacy Edge and Firefox. Now, Firefox, they announced coming to ARM64 last year at Snapdragon Summit, last December. Firefox showed up in January. It was quick. Chromium was announced at the same time. It's still not available. Now, Microsoft is rebuilding Edge from Chromium. And so, obviously, Microsoft is working very hard to get ARM64 Edge Chromium. They were supposed to announce this on October 2nd, or the availability, at least maybe in Canary and dev channels. And October 2nd was also the announcement for this. They were supposed to announce those two things at the same time. They didn't. It's still not out. So even like November 4th, the first day of Ignite, they announced the release date of Edge Chromium, which is January 15th. They announced that the release candidate is now available. This was the day before this product hit shelves. Okay? This came out on November 5th. And there is no ARM64 flavor of the release candidate. There is no ARM64 flavor in Canary. And on January 15th, when Edge launches, the production build will not have an ARM64 flavor. They are, like I said, they're working hard on it. It's coming. And there's a blocking bug. That's what they told me, a blocking bug that's keeping them from releasing it to Canary right now. So by January 15th, or hopefully much sooner than that, because January 15th is still over 2 months away. So hopefully by next week, we'll have it in the Canary ring. And don't quote me on that. They told me soon. As soon as they work out this bug, it's going to be out there. And I can tell you, I mentioned that I was using a Snapdragon 850 PC for the last week because, I'm using ARM64 Edge Chromium. It's out there, guys. Like a lot of people have been really good at finding these leaked builds, and it's like night and day. Someone was sitting next to me in the press room at Ignite and watching me use my PC. We were both looking at something, and I did something. It was with the new icon, and we're setting it up. And I do it in beta and dev. He's like, "Wow, that thing is slow." And he was really taken aback by this second generation ARM PC and talking about how slow it is. And I said, "Oh, just wait till you see me use Canary, because it's night and day, because Canary is so fast." Probably even, anecdotally, I haven't done any formal testing. I'd say that the leaked Edge Canary build for ARM64 is faster than the native Firefox build. Okay, so anyway, a little bit of an introduction to Windows on ARM there. There you go. Like I said, another thing, by the way, native ARM64 apps, they're kind of few and far between. UWP apps are usually native ARM. Not always native ARM64, but native ARM. 32-bit ARM is fine. Okay. Office is another one. Like I said, Legacy Edge. There's more coming. Adobe's new Fresco app is going to be native ARM. Adobe has promised to bring Creative Cloud. That's a big deal because, one, it's going to take a while. Adobe is like there's a lot of old code in Photoshop, and there's plugins that have to be dealt with. And a lot of Adobe Creative Cloud is 64-bit Intel only, so it's something that's needed. You're probably not going to be using Premiere Pro to edit video on this thing, but a little bit of light Photoshop, some Illustrator, you might want that. So all I can say is it's coming, I have some other Surfaces over here. Now we're going to talk about the hardware, or more externally, the hardware and the features. So this is my stack of Surfaces. Okay, this right here is a first generation Surface Pro, and this is my first Surface. So there's a reason that I have all these out because in fact, I think every first generation portable Surface is here, maybe except that Surface RT, and this is the first Surface Pro, and the type cover has changed. That's something that we're going to look at, but there have been 3 iterations of the type cover port. And because this one, although it's a different shape than they evolved it in the Surface Pro 3. Like that's where this thing kind of grew up. This thing's too thick, too heavy to be a tablet. It's too small to be a laptop, and it kind of grew up with the Pro 3, and this is the design they stick to today. Obviously, with the Pro 7, this got changed to a USB-C port. But yeah, this thing's actually been beaten up over the years, so I don't really want to open it up. But the connector is still the same. Where if you can actually use a Pro 1. It doesn't fit, but you could actually use this. You know, it works, and you can use this. This is my first generation Alcantara signature type cover, but it fits and it works. So the connector has changed for this. The only other connector that they've used for type covers is the Surface Go, right? This one, it's just, I guess, too small, but yeah, so that they changed up the connector on that, and they changed up the connector on this, and the reason that they changed the connector on this is because it's about 7 millimeters thin. Okay, it's also made out of aluminum. All those products you just saw are magnesium. I have Book and Book 2 here. The only other aluminum surface is the laptop. So, I'm not sure why they went with aluminum. Probably because they could make it as light as they did while still using aluminum. Aluminum is a heavier material than magnesium is. And so that's why they've used magnesium so much, because aluminum is actually one of the heavier materials that you'll find in laptops. So this is aluminum. It's still super thin and light because it's got an ARM processor. It doesn't have a fan in it. So I guess they could get away with it. So I'm going to put these down here. That's my Surface collection, which I bring it out when I talk about Surfaces just because, you know, to see what's changed and the different form factors that Microsoft has introduced, and you know, just to show them off. Yeah, so here is the product. By the way, I have a separate box down here with the keyboard and pen, and that's a big change this year, so we'll talk about that in a bit, other than the connector. So here's the tablet. Okay, we're just gonna it comes in any color you want as long as it's black. So that's another thing that's new with the Pro X. I don't know if it reflects how many Microsoft is expecting to sell, because even the type cover is only black. You know, like I said, the only other aluminum product is the laptop, and the laptop has always come in different colors. It's on its 3rd generation now, and I don't even know the colors. There's platinum, black, sandstone, and cobalt blue, and then there's a 15-inch model. Some come in some colors, some come in others. But anyway, that's the reason they were able to do it in different colors is because it's aluminum. It's easier to make different colors out of aluminum. So we do have black magnesium Surface Pro 7, and now we have a black aluminum Surface Pro X. But look how thin this is. It's wild. You know, there's 2 USB Type-C ports. They're USB 3.1 Gen 1. You're not going to get Thunderbolt 3 on a Qualcomm product. Okay. Not yet. Probably not until USB 4.0 comes out. So what do we got in here? Some paperwork, a SIM pin, which we are totally going to need because this is a cellular product. So let's talk about the benefits of Windows on ARM, because I talked a lot about what it can do. And, you know, and I talked about the Snapdragon 850 because one of the things I'm going to look at here is the performance improvements, because there were drawbacks to the 850. So big performance improvements here, but some of the benefits is integrated cellular connectivity. We do have a Surface Connect charger, which is kind of a bummer. I'm waiting for this to go away. I just want everything to be USB-C, and of course we can use USB Type-C. Integrated cellular connectivity. This has a Snapdragon X24. I was going to say X64 because that's another subject that we're on. But it has a Snapdragon X24 modem, which means it's multi-gigabit speed LTE if you have a carrier that supports that. Although the nice thing about these new cellular modems that support faster speeds is that you'll probably get faster speeds anyway, even if they don't go up that high. Just with the way that carrier aggregation works and everything. So, with Intel PCs, cellular comes at a premium. You're always paying an extra $100 or something, and therefore no one buys cellular PCs. It's really annoying because, hey, it's 2019 and I want everything to be connected to the internet all the time. That's why I brought that Snapdragon PC to Ignite, because especially in a conference, walking around and with congested Wi-Fi, being able to just use cellular was awesome. It's a great feature. So all that was in the box was a charger and a tablet and some paperwork and a SIM pin. So this does have a kickstand. Another benefit to Windows on ARM is battery life, for the most part. I've not found that to really be that true. It's the battery life is good, but people talk about weeks of battery life, like, or going on vacation and not bringing a charger. That is not true. I mean, I got about a day's use out of it when I was on. And again, I'm not talking about the Pro X. I'm talking about the MateBook E. One of the things is you have thinner and lighter devices, so you also get smaller batteries. You know, like I said, about a day's use. But what's cool is standby. When you press the power button on something like this, it wakes up instantly, just like your phone would. I don't know if you've ever had this issue with an Intel PC, but where you press the power button to wake it up, and then it doesn't wake up. And what happens is you end up, like you wait 5 seconds for it to wake up, and then you say, oh, maybe I got to press the power button again. And you press it again, and it wakes up right before you press it, and then you actually put it back to sleep, and you got to start all over again. Like, that's not an issue with this. The ARM PC, it just wakes up. It does, it has a unique architecture. It's called Big Little. So you have powerful cores that handle powerful tasks, which is all the stuff that you do. Then you have efficient cores, which they're designed to be less powerful and less power hungry. So on your phone, that would be like notification syncing in the background, or just the stuff that your PC can do while it's asleep. So it's awake, but it's not sucking down battery life, and the display isn't powered on. So it's not using a lot of power, but it's easy to wake up in an instant. And so that to me, that's the two biggest things, the biggest things about an ARM PC is one, cellular connectivity, that's called Always Connected, and the Instant On, which is called Always On. So always connected, always on. I don't think the battery life is nearly as impressive as people make it out to be. I do hope that gets better, but who knows? You know, and I think it's fine. It's to me, the battery life is comparable to an Intel PC that has really good battery life, and you know, that's fine. It's, you know, like an 8-hour day is fine. So here is the keyboard. It's called Signature Keyboard with Slim Pen. It doesn't say type cover, so I'm guessing it's not called the type cover. I've never actually looked into the branding for this because I never even thought of it. But yeah, so Signature Keyboard, it does have an Alcantara coating, whether you like it or not. Attach your Signature Keyboard to your Surface. Number 2, place your pen in the charging tray to wake it up. So, like I said, there's some design changes here other than the connectors. And it's pretty cool if you ask me. Now, this has the pen stored inside of the keyboard. Looks awesome, all right? So, by the way, you notice no metal pins sticking out, so it's just these little connectors here. So, let's just connect this. Oh, all right. So that's connected like that. The pen stays right there, and then you can just seal the pen away. Just it does prop up like that. It's that Surface experience that you're used to, right? It has the kickstand and everything, even for such a thin device, wildly thin. And it's 1.7 pounds. Like, this is super light. It's super thin, super light. No headphone jack, by the way. So the pen is also charging while it's in the keyboard here. And here's another thing that I'll show you. You can't put it in upside down. So here's the pen, and I'm just going to try to put it in upside down so it won't charge. Ready? Boom. Flips up. Oh, that didn't. Let's try this again. There it goes. It flipped right over. Yeah, so I love pens that you don't have to. I love rechargeable pens, first of all, because the Surface Pen used to use quadruple A batteries, and like these aren't the kind of batteries that you'll find at your local drugstore. You'll find them in a Best Buy or something, and that's fine. But you know, if you don't use the pen all the time, like if you're the type of person that uses the pen like every 3 months or something, that battery is dead by the time you go to use it. So you go to use it, it doesn't work. You got to go change the battery. You come back, it works. It's so much of a hassle just for that thing that you want to be able to do once in a while. No good. So I love rechargeable pens, and I love pens that you can store within the device. Because again, if you're the type of person that uses it every 3 months, you don't want it stuck to the side all the time. You know, like the Pro 3 had the pen loop, and it would, like, you don't want to carry it. You want it to just be there when you need it. And like Microsoft talks a lot about technology fading to the background, where it fades to the background. Like this thing is there, you're using it, you're typing, got to use the pen, boom, it's there. You know, it's a great design. It's called the Slim Pen though. This isn't a regular Surface Pen. You can see it. It's slim. It's flat, so it does feel different when you're typing. You can also see it on my shirt, by the way. I got this shirt at Ignite, and I purposely wore it for, I'm sure you know I purposely wore it for this video. I'm just going to put this back upside down, and boom. It's not perfect about fitting in there, but it won't let you put it in upside down, is the point. Okay, so while this is booting up into what's presumably the out-of-box experience, not all review units come with an out-of-box experience. Some of them just have a local account. We can just take a look. All right, so like I said, the pen, we'll do the flip thing again. I'm just going to try to put this in upside down. See, in there upside down, boom, flips. Yeah, so, yeah, pretty cool. Alcantara keyboard, islanded keys. It feels about the same as a regular type cover. Okay, so over here, here's our two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A ports, a volume rocker. Thing about USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type C is that Thunderbolt 3 is still very much an Intel thing. It's Intel's releasing all that, but it's not happening until USB 4.0. So, you know, like they could pay for the licensing or whatever, but you know, I've heard they exist, but there are very few, if any, AMD Thunderbolt PCs. So same thing with Qualcomm. See, it's already picking up some fingerprints on the back, which that's to be expected, obviously, with, you know, fingers. Surface Connect port, which weirdly, this thing actually comes with a 65 watt charger. I've never seen that with an ARM PC. Usually it's 45 watts because these things just require less power. It's a 7 watt processor. And then of course there's our power button over here. Kickstand. And what's cool, here's something that's super cool actually. If we look, we will find that you can actually remove the SSD. The SSD is right here. You can use the same SIM pin that you use to pop out the SIM tray. So yeah, you can actually pop out the SSD. So, you know, I actually talked to someone at Ignite that got one of these things because they sold them there they have Microsoft stores at these Microsoft events, as you probably imagine. And I asked them one day, I said, "Do you guys have the Surface Pro X?" And he said not till Thursday and in limited supply. And it turned out they only had 5 of them. So I talked to one of the guys that got one, and the only model they had was the one with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. And 128 gigs of storage is really just not enough for most people, I think. I said the good news is you can always just pop out the storage and just put in a new one when you need to. It's awesome. But what that's really there for, by the way, is so when you're getting rid of a PC, you can destroy the storage. You're not just resetting the PC. You can pull out the storage and just not worry about anyone ever getting into your stuff. Setup is just about done there. So while that's going, take a look at how small these bezels are. Okay. I have almost no doubt that this is what at least the front of the Surface Pro 8 will look like. It's very much, if you look at a Surface Pro 7, the bezels are still pretty big. They haven't changed that so much. The only one with bigger bezels is the Surface Go. But yeah, this is really slimmed down. It's a redesigned chassis, obviously made of aluminum. The Surface Pro 8 will not be this thin because this is fanless. This is I just don't think they could fit Intel hardware inside of this. Another thing I'll point out is you notice that if you prop up your Surface like so with a kickstand on top of a keyboard like this, the pen is still right there. It's still right there where you can access it. It doesn't fall out or anything. It's still right there where you need it. So another thing about this pen is that like I pointed out before, what's wrong with my Microsoft account? Anyway, as I pointed out before, this is it's flat. It feels different to write with. So we're gonna see how that goes. I'm excited to write with it a little bit. I'm gonna use it. I use pens a lot. Particularly, I take a lot of handwritten notes. So we'll just try to put this in backwards, and it won't work. Yeah, so it just charges up in there, and there's your Surface Pro X. I love how it still attaches to the bottom. I think we all thought, because a lot of the promo images just had it like this, and we all thought that the bezels were too small. Like they chopped down the bezels so much that you wouldn't be able to prop this up, and that's a big thing for lappability. So pretty cool stuff. This display is, however, it's 13 inches. It's 2880 by 1920, which is great. It's pixel sense. It's a one of the things I look at during the out of box experience is when they give you those messages like we're setting things up for you and stuff, and I see the black background. I look at how much of a contrast there is between the edge of the display and the bezel, because that gives you an idea of how true those blacks are going to be, because obviously this is not OLED. OLED PCs are pretty rare, and there are no OLED displays with custom resolutions like this. So you can look at the kind of the lighting zones on that, and it looks really good. And I'm pretty sure you got to be able to see some of that on camera as well. So yeah, it's your Surface Pro stuff, but with an ARM processor in it. So pretty cool. All right, and that is the Surface Pro X. You can see it picked up quite a few fingerprints. Yeah, I am a little bit disappointed that it's still Surface Connect. I know, Microsoft really wants to maintain backward compatibility with older chargers and older accessories. I get that. Older Surface docks. That's something that every company has had to deal with. The problem is that Microsoft has been so far behind on USB Type-C that everybody has kind of gotten past that already. There was this period, I think maybe 2017-ish, maybe even 2018, where business PCs especially would come with a USB Type-C port, usually Thunderbolt 3, and it would also come with their proprietary charger, barrel charger, whatever. And that way, if you were a business and you had a bunch of old chargers lying around, you could still use them. But then, you had USB Type-C as well, and you would eventually move to the new thing. So now, this is the first time that all Surfaces in the lineup have USB Type-C. So they all also have Surface Connect. So, by the way, Surface Connect, for those that don't know, that's USB 3.1 Gen 1. So it's no different. Like if you plug in a dock, you're not getting anything more or less by using a Surface dock or a USB Type-C dock. 5 gigabits per second. So I suspect that maybe next year's model will go all in on USB Type-C, maybe except Surface Book, which probably requires too much power for USB Type-C, or at least the 15-inch one, which has a more powerful GPU, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, we have Surface Connect for now. I am surprised still that it's 65 watts. It's the most powerful charger I've seen on a Windows on ARM PC ever. I suspect, I haven't double checked this, but I suspect it's more powerful than the charger used with the Surface Go, which I think is 45 watts. So pretty cool. Hopefully that means it's a powerful PC. I'm excited about it. What I'm really excited about is the performance improvements that came, like if you look at the pace that Qualcomm is on, right? These Snapdragon 835 PCs were awful, unusable. I haven't used the native browsers on it yet, I still have one. I'll probably break it out one of these days when I'm looking to punish myself. But the 850, like the big difference between the 835 and the 850 was that the 850 was usable. There were some issues with emulated browsers, but they were at least usable. This is meant to compete with a Core i5. So it's built from the ground up for PCs. So there should be another massive, like the 835 to the 850 was a massive performance increase. The 850 to the 8CX should be another massive performance increase. So like Qualcomm is on a really fast pace of innovation with PCs, and it just keeps getting better. So that's what I'm excited about, because like I'm pretty happy with the 850. I used it for the last week with an ARM64 browser, and it was awesome. So like I'm hoping to go from being pretty happy with it to actually being really good. I will miss certain Adobe apps. Most of the stuff works though. I mean, most of the apps that I use at least, and that includes things like OneNote, Microsoft To Do, Skype, Slack. Slack, I believe, is emulated though, and you can see it, but it's fine. The big thing is browsers, because I don't know about you, I can't speak for you, but almost all of my work is done in the browser, so I need a good browser, and I have that, so that's good. So yeah, I'll have more on this in a few weeks, and obviously I'm gonna put it through its paces. I got a SIM card to install. Cellular connectivity is awesome, so stay tuned for that. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.